2024's Poco smartphone lineup is more exciting than ever. Is this a $200 smartphone revolution, or Poco M6 Pro is not as good as we think it is? Let's inspect. Okay, I need to clarify something at the start. This here is called Poco M6 Pro, and there already is another Poco M6 Pro, a 5G smartphone which was released by Poco, respectively Xiaomi, at some point in 2023, limited availability across regions, and that here is the global version, which is usually skipping the North American region, but it's a 4G smartphone, which happens to be, according to the specs, one of the best budget-friendly smartphones of the year, at least so far. And this is why we want to make a deep dive to thoroughly inspect everything possible and as much as possible in order to find out whether it has the right qualities to be called an excellent value smartphone. Let's go. The price is definitely a reason to hop on this Poco's game. You likely know that Poco is Xiaomi's most aggressive price-wise brand and often is used for global launches for some of the Redmi devices that appear in China only. These smartphones right now don't have too much of competition, with Realme focused lately too much on the Indian market and most smaller brands being too inconsistent about software updates. Some exceptions are of course to be seen here and there. So let's do it! Unboxing. If you've already seen my Poco X6 Pro review, you know what comes next. If not, make sure to catch up and take a moment to subscribe to the channel, of course. Besides the usual black and yellow styling, Poco bring in protection, a pre-applied screen protector, and finally, a good-looking black slim case. To me personally, these two are a must-have, and as soon as I get a Samsung or Google smartphone, this usually costs me around $30 extra to buy such kind of accessories with decent quality. Not to mention a good wall charger, because here it comes for free and it's a 67-watt gun charger, which according to Poco is going to top up the battery within 44 minutes. The build quality seems to be good, very nice and slim smartphone, somehow reminding me of the iconic Lenovo K900, but the big difference are these two big camera bumps. I mean, we've seen weird big bumps, these are just next level. If you hoped to see a 3.5mm jack in a 2024 smartphone, this is among the first officially announced models supporting such one. It seems to have a stereo speaker setup as well. Build quality looks trustworthy. If you care about the tech specifications, some of them are seriously exciting. The Poco M6 Pro is powered by the Helio G99 Ultra SoC, may have 8 or 12 GB of RAM, up to 512 GB storage, has an external memory card slot, 6.67-inch AMOLED display, Gorilla Glass protection, a 5000 mAh battery, 67-watt turbocharging, a 64-megapixel main camera, a number of up-to-date wireless connectivity standards. It's launched with Android 13 and weighs only 179 grams. These specs… wow, it's amazing how many good things Poco managed to pack within the price of around $200. We have a pretty good AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate, which a couple of years ago was considered to be a high-end solution. We have a 64-megapixel camera with optical image stabilization, that's written here on the back in case you forget. We have a pretty capable processor inside, at least we hope so. Actually, the Helio G99 Ultra happens to be a slightly overclocked version of the regular G99, which is manufactured on a 6nm process, which is not much thicker than today's best, and is supposed to have excellent performance. Most likely, this is the most reasonable choice for a good, decent 4G SoC to be integrated in a 2024 device, and we're about to find out soon enough. The battery inside is 5000 mAh, supports Xiaomi's iconic 67-watt turbocharging. I think that's the sweet spot about turbocharging because it's fast enough and still not too dangerously quick. And I appreciate Xiaomi's turbocharging because, well, on one side they let you use the maximum through the included in the box 67-watt gun charger, but also if you have a regular quick charger, you can take advantage of that. It's not limited like other brands such as Vivo, OnePlus and so on. They actually let you use the quick charging only with their own proprietary adapter. Well, It's obviously time to do some thorough testing, like gaming experience, snappiness, etc. But first, of course, we need to cover these big bubbles which represent the camera setup. This is another area where Poco have done things right. As mentioned, it's the first time an OIS-backed camera to appear in the M series. Note that this kind of stabilization is not equal to every phone, and effectiveness is of course not even close to what top devices such as the Pixel or the Galaxy S series are gonna provide. But still a good thing and better to have it aboard. I won't comment much about the daytime photos because they are, as expected, very good. Low light images are okay too. You know that most of the magic with these photos happens via software and AI, where a bunch of photos get stacked together, so the camera night mode does things right most times. Portrait mode relies primarily on the main camera sensor, and it's a hit or miss, depending on the shot. The biggest gap to good camera phones is notable when it comes to video. 4K is not present with this smartphone, and the best you can get out of the camera is 1080p video at 60 frames per second, with the sweet spot being the full HD resolution in 30p. Poco treat you with some cool-looking video filters to enhance your creativity, and the results are pretty good if social media posts are your priority. Slow motion is available too, but quality not that good. The selfie camera, on the other hand, is on par with Xiaomi's flagships. Now, that's an attempt to make a joke about the slow adoption of 4K video on the front cameras for Xiaomi-made phones. Here, the selfie camera is not that superb and can capture video with 30 frames per second in full HD resolution. And our usual check of the microphone quality, together with the capability to make kind of vlogging things. That's the front selfie camera, 1080p, 30 frames per second is the recording. I think it's alright, stabilization not perfect, but kind of acceptable. Overall, for all of these good photos, it's the processing that makes most of the magic. My first impressions from the G99 Ultra by MediaTek are very positive. It's a super well-balanced chipset and happens to be, in my opinion, the most capable 4G chip you can get in a smartphone at the moment. It's built on a 6nm process, and the announcement that it's made by TSMC implies that battery consumption is gonna be as optimal as possible. And it is! While I was running the 15-minute CPU throttling test, which runs the processor at maximum levels, it only brought the battery down by 6%, whereas I've tested phones such as Pixel 7 where the same task eats up twice more. Charging, by the way, is nicely fast. You can bring the battery to full within 40-ish minutes using the original charger. Screen on-time results are pretty fascinating as well. We don't have flagship-level scores in any of the benchmark tests, but day-to-day tasks run totally fine, no glitches, not many skipped frames. It's a rather very smooth experience, which I expect to get even better as soon as the phone gets its updates to Android 14, respectively HyperOS. You can definitely have some fun with games. In fact, most of them run smoothly even at maximum resolution levels. The display has 120Hz refresh rate, so quite obviously AMOLED technology is now a standard choice, so is the size, perhaps the refresh rate as well. So the difference between budget panels and high-end displays is more about the peak brightness, the resolution and the color accuracy and consistency. Because this display looks fairly good if well-centered, but turn it to the sides and you're gonna notice that the reds change their tint a bit, so do the greens. Peak brightness is good enough though. Connectivity is also good. While there is no 5G present, you get dual-band Wi-Fi support, Bluetooth 5.2, even the famous infrared blaster, so that you can use the phone as a remote control at home. Oh, and an in-display fingerprint sensor on a $200 smartphone. NFC is also available, at least for the European version of the phone. If you wonder about the speaker's quality, here's a sample that I've prepared for you. The software of this smartphone is still MIUI based. I say still because we are expecting any moment the new HyperOS to be pushed as an OTA for the M6 Pro as well. Therefore, yes, experience feels very familiar. HyperOS would keep some of those good MIUI well-known features, but underneath there are certain changes so that there's better integration to the broader Mi ecosystem. I'll remind you that HyperOS is supposed to be the big deal for Xiaomi-made phones, and Poco, being part of it, is also getting the right levels of treatment. X6 Pro, launched at the same time, already has the HyperOS release, and it is launched with Android 14, so the expectations are really high about battery life, about stability, about lack of bugs, and so on. It's a budget Poco phone, so expect reasonable amounts of pre-installed apps. You can get rid of most of them easily because you won't really need the majority and they slow the system down eventually. Poco promised longer software support cycles, which is of course good news, and given the snappy processor and up-to-date specs, this phone can last for a few good years. If you want to find areas not to like, the phone uses an entry-level AMOLED panel, lacks wireless charging, the camera bumps look somewhat strange, there is no 5G support, and, well, if there's something else that I'm missing, you can help me by adding your comment below the video. In the end, the only thing I could say is that I'm surprised how much I enjoyed using the Poco M6 Pro. It's a brilliantly built smartphone for $200, offering the right things and having the right corners cut. It's just amazing that Poco's team managed to pack all of these excellent features within this price. Actually, if you don't care about 5G, and if you're comfortable getting rid of some bloatware, this is a hidden gem. I can certainly recommend it, especially if you're going to use it as a secondary phone or you need a smartphone which is more budget-oriented. That would be a very good choice. Or, if you think otherwise, I'm happy to discuss further. Comments are down below the video. As usual, more information about the product, link to order it, and also some ways to support my work here on the channel. You're going to find in the video description area. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.